say a few words today about sex abuse and our self-esteem. And I want to say a little bit today in video number 7 on sex and abuse. A little bit about abuse, sex and our self-esteem, because our self-esteem is one of the major things that are affected when we become abused. And our confidence is also not often as well in that. And when we are sexually or emotionally or psychologically abused, our self-esteem can be affected, but it can be out of our awareness. We sometimes do not realize or understand the types of things that can affect our self-esteem. And sometimes this is on a daily basis. So it's quite a good idea to keep an eye on our self-esteem and to monitor and write down the sorts of things that are affecting our self-esteem. And when sex and abuse together are used, and as I said in the other videos, pop along there and have a look at some of the other videos on sex and abuse, we're not aware sometimes the effects that abuse can have on our self-esteem until potentially we're outside of the relationship and we've left and our self-esteem starts to rise again, and then we think, goodness, that situation really did knock my self-esteem. And so it's quite a good idea to monitor our self-esteem, possibly on a daily basis, and to recognize the sorts of situations that are affecting us. And if we are abused using sex in our relationships, that can impact our self-esteem and our personal growth, because our self-esteem is a basis really for the rest of our lives. We make our decisions often based in our self-esteem. We make our choices based in our self-esteem as well, a lot of the time. And sometimes we're not realizing we're doing that. And if sex is used against us, if you will, that often affects our self-esteem, because it's sort of connected to our identity and how we perceive ourselves. And we often are very harsh on ourselves when we've encountered a situation where sex has been used against us, because we wonder why we allowed that to happen in the first place. And we beat ourselves up and say, I shouldn't have allowed that to happen. I shouldn't have gone down that road. I wish I hadn't done that at the time. But when we're in those situations, and when someone is manipulating us and controlling us and coercing us into a sexual arrangement or agreement, we're often not aware of what's happening, because we feel overwhelmed by this persona and this pressure and this energy that's coming at us. And that's why we have more insight in retrospect rather than at the time, because in retrospect we have more perception, we have more objectivity, because we've removed ourselves out of that situation and we're no longer under the sexual pressure that we were when we were in it. And we're able to be more objective, and we're able to see that maybe we should have said no because we didn't feel comfortable, but we were ignoring that uncomfortableness and pushing it to one side because we didn't want to be rejected. And we could have been using that situation in order to build our self-esteem up, and using sex and an encounter with someone who is making us feel desirable and wanted and loved, because we wanted to build our self-esteem up. And sometimes casual sex can be used to build up someone's self-esteem because it's a quick hit, it's a quick boost to the self-esteem to think that this stranger potentially wants to have sex with us. And so we can get an ego boost from that, short term anyway. And it's often not until afterwards when we realise and we're outside of that situation that maybe it wasn't good for our self-esteem. It wasn't good for our confidence, because then we realise that engaging in that when we weren't comfortable with it was actually detrimental to our self-esteem, because we don't feel good if we're doing something that we've been coerced into and we're not really happy about at the end of the day. So I wanted to just highlight there and flag up self-esteem and sex, and to just say and remind ourselves to protect our self-esteem in our safe relationship toolbox. Use that as a tool to help to maintain our self-esteem at a high level, rather than potentially compromising it in sexual situations, scenarios that we're not really happy with, but that we may need to use in order to boost our ego, our self-esteem, and our feelings of confidence, because it's a short-term hit. So as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye-bye.